Welcome to the Etheria TechCast, where we bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. I'm your host, Ezekiel Etheria, and today we are joined by Dr. Zoa Conner, a physicist who got tired of watching brilliant women feel terrible for no apparent reason. By applying the same analytical rigor she once used on complex physical systems to the human body and nervous system, she's developed a systematic approach to diagnosing burnout, designing precision retreats, and treating wellness as a problem where travel, lifestyle, and embodied practices become strategic interventions rather than just escapes. So, Dr. Zoa, I am very much excited to welcome you to the show. Thank you very much for joining us here today.
I appreciate the chance to have this conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, likewise. So let's get in started. You have a fascinating career pivot from PhD physicist to helping brilliant women heal their bodies and mind. For you, was what was the moment or a realization that made you think I need to apply physicist level analysis to wellness instead of just physics problems?
Well, as a physicist and a mother and a homeschooling mother and someone who likes to know things, hence the PhD, anytime there was something that was new to me, I had the opportunity and the enthusiasm to dive into learning all about it. And then, of course, my definition of learning is that you can apply it to your life. You can explain it to a 4-year-old, to your grandmother, and to someone who is knowledgeable and practicing in the field. So when I had the opportunity to learn about permaculture and about cheese making and fermenting and all of these things that are more life skills than the particle astrophysics where I got my PhD on, I used the same energy and enthusiasm and desire to learn and find those connections that got me a PhD. And then when someone that you care for a lot starts to feel poorly and get sick or injured, of course, the natural tendency is to want to help and want to fix it using whatever tools you have at your disposal, including your ability to learn and find connections, which is what a PhD physicist excels at. So I can just take my skills and apply them to anything I choose, whether it's a rigorous academic research project or my daughter.
All right, all right. So, Zoa, you describe yourself as someone who got tired of watching brilliant women feel like garbage for no reason. So, what were you seeing in the brilliant women around you that made you so certain there was a solvable problem underneath their burnout?
Well, when you listen to these women and the people who love them talk about their problems, they seem complicated. They seem like it's just this snowball effect. I was a little tired and I started sleeping poorly, and then I woke up and my shoulder hurt. And then I started having digestion problems, and, but I still got all my work done, but their bodies were rebelling, right? And my physics brain was like, there's a solution. Here's a complex problem. We just need to break it down and figure out which part of the system has failed and which system needs support to get back online, right? It's
Mm,
just the same as diagnosing a software problem if you're modeling an experiment or figuring out why the thing that you just built doesn't work the way you want it to. You've got to figure out where the problem is. So you have to diagnose and not diagnose a disease, diagnose the error. Where's the missing link? Where's the disconnection in the system? Where are you passing information, but it's not being received and used? And so that just makes a whole lot of sense to my logical part of my brain. right? And so
Mm.
you take this complex system of I have all these symptoms, but it traces all back to a couple of basic lifestyle things that they didn't realize would have an impact on those systems, and they didn't know they were connected anyway. So let me give you an example.
All right, please do.
Perimenopausal women. So a woman who is maybe 35 to 50. We talk about it now in terms of your hormones are starting to change. You're getting ready for menopause. And now all of a sudden, you've got agitated digestion. You're not sleeping very well. You wake up in the middle of the night to pee only once or twice. You snap at your coworkers. You cry spontaneously for what seems like something ridiculously simple and small, right? And all of these things are simply related to the fact that you're starting to get low in progesterone, right? It's
Mm.
the first hormone that you start to lose when your brain figures out that there's a problem on the inside of your body. And maybe let's just start to down regulate everything. You lose progesterone first. So if you can address that, then all of these symptoms gradually go away because the commonality, that the source of the problem has been fixed. And the source of the problem is stress. And so you thought you were doing fine because you were still getting all of the tasks done. You were getting all of the deadlines met at work. You still got dinner on the table. You got everyone to their soccer games and their Girl Scouts and their whatever they're doing, right? But what failed was on the inside, not on the outside. You didn't forget to pick up a kid. You didn't drop a deadline or not meet, with your boss. But what you lost was the ability to self-regulate your hormones well.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense now. So you talk about applying physicist level analysis to nervous system health, lifestyle design, and travel. So I like to know, what does that analysis actually look like in practice when you are working with a client?
Well, in practice, it involves listening to them describe what they're feeling, what they've tried, so their past experiments. Maybe there's some testing. Maybe we look at the last 3 years worth of their blood work that their doctor has pulled, and maybe we add to it with some additional blood work with markers which are more telling us about wellness and function than the ones that the doctors look at, which are telling you about disease and dysfunction. And then we're kind of teasing teasing apart the connections. So you look at your blood work and your calcium is low. Okay, that doesn't mean you have to take more calcium into the body. It means you're using it up. Where is it going? Is it
Mm.
going into your kidneys and causing kidney stones? Is it going into your connective tissue and creating that achy joint that you've been calling arthritis? Right? Is the problem that your vitamin D levels are low? And so it's low in your blood because you're not even getting it from your food. Where's the breakdown in the system? Right? And
Mm.
so you have to know the information about the body, but then you have to look at it from an experimental point of view. So maybe we do a hair mineral analysis and we see, well, over the last 2 months, your hair and your calcium in your hair has been really high, which in my world means you're throwing it away. You're not making use of it. It's coming out of the blood into the cells and you're throwing it away in your hair. Why would you do that? Well, hormones tell the body what to do. They're messengers. So who's sending the message? Why is that message being sent? You have to design an experiment. You have to figure out, what do you look at? How do you figure out this answer in a way which does not cut into the body, which does not make the person feel worse while you're doing it, and ideally makes them feel better as soon as possible, right? So there's the logic, there's a testing, but then there's also some intuition, right? And
Mhm.
here's where you go based on what have they tried in the past? What are the past experiments and what were the results? And how does that feed into the design of your current experiment? What should they do next?
All right, all right. That was a really insightful response, Zoa. So you have this really powerful line. You say you can't heal in the same place that made you sick. So what does that mean beyond the literal? Is it about physical space, routines, relationships, or something
Yes,
deeper?
yes, yes, and all of it. And therein lies the problem. So if we're talking about someone who's dealing with chronic mold, and it's from their home, from their water damaged, broken window, and broken in this case means it let water in when its job is to keep the water out, right? Then we're talking about the physical space of their home trying to kill them from the inside out. If we're talking about it from a scheduling component, busy
Mm-hmm.
lives, modern worlds, your phone is always with you, right? So we go on a retreat, you're out of your space, you're out of your normal job. Your kids and your husband and your parents are all at home. So everything has changed. Your schedule's changed, who's around you, your expectations, all of it is gone, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so on a retreat, then I am the one who gets control of all of those details. And they're curated for the people who are there right now in front of me. What do these particular people need from their retreat? And that is how I create the retreat. And then, of course, the job is okay, we've changed everything about your environment. We've taken you out of your normal and put you over here, and you feel good, and everything is easy. What happens when you
Mm,
go home? You have to go home with a toolkit that you can apply and the knowledge about how to use that toolkit to keep you feeling as wonderful as you feel when you go on retreat, right? So if you're going to go home, you go home a changed person, right? But you have to go home with a brand new toolbox to use so you can change your environment at home, because otherwise it's too easy to just revert back into your steady state, right? We're going to
mm,
push on your details of your life. We're going to make these changes. But there's inertia. It's so easy to just return to normal, right?
yeah.
Because it requires work to make change, mental energy, emotional energy. You've got to make all these changes and justify them to the people around you, right? Why do you want to
Mm-hmm.
go to bed an hour early? We always stay up this time, right? Because I need to. I need more sleep. No, you don't. You'll be fine, right? So these things come into play when you return to your normal life, and you have to be prepared for how to support yourself and make these changes, even if you've got some pushback from the people, places, and things in your environment.
All right, all right. So, Zoa, you design what you call precision retreats, that strategic interventions that give women exactly what's missing from their lives. So, how exactly do you diagnose what's missing? Like, what's your intake process for figuring out what someone needs when even they don't know?
Well, that's exactly what happens is they don't know. They just know that they don't feel good and they don't like how they're feeling right now, and they're looking for a change. And quite
Yeah.
frequently, these people have talked to other practitioners. They've talked to doctors. They've talked to therapists. And what they're getting is this piecemeal, one tip here, one tip here. No one's looking at it holistically through all the systems of the body, right? And so if we're going to take a systems optimization approach to the body, we have to know about all the systems. We can't just only look at your exercise. We can't only look at your bones or your blood. Everything has to come together to create a whole system. So in some sense, I'm a project manager for your body and your lifestyle. So
Mm-hmm.
that means that rather like a project manager or the designer of a brand new big experiment, I have to know as much as I can about you, which means it gets a little personal, right? Because if it doesn't, I don't know enough to give you anything that Google or ChatGPT can't give you just from a quick search, right? If this is going to be personalized, it has to be all about you. right? And
Yeah.
so I need to know about your sleep. Are you sleeping alone? Is the dog always on your left side? What's the light level in the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing in the last 2 hours before you go to bed? What happens if you have dinner at 5 versus have dinner at 7? How does that impact your sleep? So there's a lot of details, and ideally, I would work with you before you attend a retreat in order to gain that information. And so sometimes that means we're just meeting for a few conversations, but we need to dig right into the meat and the details. Other times it means that I've been working with you or teaching you yoga or something, some kind of connection for a few months or even a few years. And so then I've gradually collected up the information that I need, right? But let me give you another example. So I'm taking a group of women to Santa Fe, New Mexico in a month for a retreat. And sometimes it's just a matter of the travel arrangements, not just where are you coming from and how do you get to Albuquerque and then Santa Fe, but also are you the person who needs a wheelchair to get through the airport that you are coming from? Maybe you're coming from a big airport where there's a long walk and you're not feeling up to it at that time of the morning or evening with your baggage, and so you're the person who needs the wheelchair. Okay, well, that's also going to inform me that maybe the half an hour walk to dinner isn't going to work so well for you either, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so in order to curate the details and keep it where it's the right amount of beneficial stress, exercise, food, the learning, right? We're trying to minimize the things that are harmful or causing more stress than we need, right? And so the details of the planning, in addition to the content that we cover, is all important. And so on a retreat, there's always a blend of some work time, some learning time, some group interaction, some one-on-one, some resting time, some exercise, eating. So I need to know about, what can you eat and feel good? And then we kind of backtrack to, well, why can't you eat this other set of food? What is it about it that makes you feel bad? Because that's digestion, right? Or that's your immune system. And so as I put together the retreat, I'm pulling together these details of, well, this person has a shellfish allergy, but this person needs to only walk about 15 minutes before her knees hurt. And putting this together into a cohesive program where everybody gets what they need, which is why I keep my retreats limited to less than 12 people, because otherwise it becomes too generic and not personalized enough.
All right, all right. So you also say this one actually caught my interest. You see that burnout isn't a mindset problem, it's a biology problem. So can you explain that distinction? What does it change when you stop trying to think your way out of burnout and start treating the biology?
Well, I think that when I deal with women who, or men who are experiencing burnout, what they're complaining about and wanting to fix are the fatigue and the sleep impact and the feelings that they're not getting everything done that they should. So mindset might be, where should you be doing all of those things, right? Are those
Mm,
all things that have a high enough priority to you that they need to be done by you right now, right here, right? So that's part of what I would consider a mindset solution, is the priorities, right?
mm,
An example might be, you might want to finish this email right now, but you need to make sure your kid gets off the school bus safely, right?
yeah.
And so you're going to have to choose between those, and that choice hopefully is obvious, right?
Yes, it
But
is.
other choices, it doesn't seem so obvious, and then you struggle with it. And so that's mindset. But then there's a biological and a chemical component, which is, you've got stress hormones coursing through your blood vessels, because your adrenal glands are really working hard to give you the energy to do all the things on that list because maybe you haven't prioritized very well. And so then what happens is it's hard to clean up all that extra cortisol hormone, and then you can't sleep well, right? Because your
Mm-hmm.
cortisol to melatonin imbalance, right? There's a pattern throughout the day. The cortisol wakes you up in the morning, gets you energized, gets you moving. Mid-afternoon comes and it's starting to go away. Darkness comes and the melatonin starts to go up because that's what's going to get you to fall asleep. If you keep your cortisol going too long in the afternoon and evening, there's not enough chance for the melatonin to rise up and you can't fall asleep. And you're laying there in bed, scrolling on your phone, running through all the things you didn't get done today because now you're supposed to be asleep, but you can't fall asleep. That makes sense?
Yes.
So while there might be a mindset to that priority list and how full you packed your day, it becomes where there's a chemical and a biological aspect to it. And you can't fix one without addressing the other. They're going to come together.
All right, all right. So, yeah, you are Dr. Zoa. You are also an author, so you have a book. So, could you just tell us about this book you wrote? What is it about? Give us an overview of it and your motivation behind writing it and who the ideal readers are.
So I wrote this book last year called Women in Wellness in Motion because I wanted women to start to realize that the ideas behind their wellness choices should include travel and that the place where they're going to feel better isn't always at home. So I wanted
Mm,
to bring together the elements that I use to create the retreats, but I wanted to have a way to explain them to people. And so that was the impetus for writing the book. So there's a section on functional wellness, which is that body system analysis that I use with my clients, whether we're on a retreat or just working online or through my brick and mortar studio. There's a section on Ayurveda, which is the science of longevity. It's all about lifestyle. It's the science, if you want to think about it that way, to the practice of yoga. Yoga is about movement, breath, this whole embodiment practice that we do. But Ayurveda is the overarching, this is how you live if you want to feel great in your elder years. And then I bring in travel, and that travel can either support or detract from your wellness, right?
yeah.
All too often I hear about people who have taken a trip, a work trip, a family trip, a vacation, going to take care of aging parents, just taking their kids on the college tour, and they come home and they're exhausted, right? Because they haven't designed their travel to support their wellness. The the goal of the travel had nothing to do with their well-being, and their well-being suffered because of it. So that book that I wrote was covering those areas and trying to get people to think about their wellness, their daily choices, and how travel contributed to that in a new way. So a new frame of reference.
All right. For you, after moving from physics to wellness, from analyzing particles to now analyzing human vitality, I'd like to know what does true innovation in health and well-being mean to you right now?
I think innovation in this space that I am working in is about bringing together things that seem to be disparate but are going to ultimately help each other. So when you look at the medical system, there's this mindset, this approach, and this set of problems that they do really, really well with. And then there's all the other things that they don't do well with.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go to the exercise and the personal trainer arena, and there's again a different set of things that they excel at and do fabulous at. And yet, a lot of my clients come to me because that framework, that system hurt them. They physically got hurt doing things that they thought were healthy. And so I feel like the innovation is about bringing together the best aspects of all these arenas into a way that fully supports the person. And that is, of course, what I am trying to do is create that intersection where these things blend together such that everything is better because of the unity of your subjects, right?
Mm,
And
mm.
I kind of think about when I was in grad school and I would look at, well, what should I do my PhD research on? Should it be solid state physics? Should it be particle physics? Should it be this? Should it be that? Right? And on some level, they all looked good, but I had to pick one, right? And
Yeah.
now I feel like with what I do and the way that I have innovated my businesses, I don't have to pick. I get to cherry pick the pieces that are actually working for my clients and give them a cohesive system to use. They don't feel like they have to only go with one side. They get all the sides.
All right, all right. So, Dr. Zoa, for our listeners, especially the high achieving women or anyone feeling burned out, who wants to understand their own wellness patterns and even maybe experience one of your retreats, or maybe just go grab your book to read. So, here is the best place for them to go start.
My retreat website is a great place to start, intentional-vitality.com. From there, you can get to my next group retreat. This recording right now is in February. I'm taking a group to Santa Fe in March and a group to Greece in October. From that website, you can get to my book, to my podcast, and you can schedule time to have a little chit chat with me and get to know me and see how I can help you.
All right, all right. Dr. Zoha, it's been a really great time having a conversation with you here today, and I'm very excited to have you on the show. Thank you very much for your time and your insights.
Thank you for having me.